Hey boys, welcome back to some more Nrl Supercoach season 2025, and we're going to be going through one of the final two positional discussions before we fairly quickly hit trials, and all of a sudden it'll be very close to round one discussion. So we've got through the engine room, we've got through the halves, it's down to some of the high upside positions here. We're going through the center wingers. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I'll try not to yap on too much, but I can't promise anything. I can't help myself. So it might be a long one. Stay tuned, buckle in. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I think, like I said in one of the videos, I discussed that I think a lot of people are starting to get the thought to have a bit more money spent in your center wing. Like, I think the template for center wingers that's pretty universal is 3 bottom dollar cheapies. Obviously, if there is, like, if there's 3, and I mean, I don't know the last season where we wouldn't have actually got 3 cheapies in the center wing that have either come out of the blue or whatnot. So typically your 3 backup center wingers are going to be those bottom dollar cheapies, or at least like low price, bottom dollar to low mid-range cheapies to make some quick cash. And then your 4 starters, it's always, depending who's available, depending what value, typically maybe going a little bit cheaper, just because the center wingers in the past have been you've always had your top line guys, but they've been very expensive, and there's been a thought that it's a bit of a roller coaster. But I think the last few years, it's definitely, it's bucked that trend. I mean, there's guys that consistently get 70 plus a week and have the ceiling to boot. So having at least 1 primo, potentially 2 if you can afford it. Obviously, it's going to be team dependent. If you're going 2-gun halfbacks, if you're going 3-gun fullbacks, or if you're going the cheapie in the fullback, if you're going a mid-range in the half, like, you're going to have more money to spend in your center wing. So it's a balancing act, but I think 1 primo, potentially 2 primos, and then 2 good value center wingers that you're hoping to make good cash is sort of my template at the moment. But again, it's going to come down to how the money spends, and also what cheapies are available. So let's go through. We'll go through, pick out some. We'll go through, I guess, the primos first. I'll discuss who I'm eyeing off. Then we'll go down to obviously mid-range, and then the cheapies, which, I mean, the cheapies, obviously placeholder. For now, there's obviously some guys that are looking good, but it can change pretty quickly in rugby league. So starting out, Val Holmes, obviously a no-go. I mean, even if he was fit to start the year, I wouldn't be touching Val Holmes. He might be as good as he was at the Cowboys, but I'd be a little iffy. And then also, he's coming off a pretty nasty, he broke his leg at the back end of last year. I don't know if he's good to go for round 1. I'm not too sure. I think he might be missing a bit to start the season. Yeah, but I wouldn't be going Holmes regardless at a new club, a club that I'm not. I have no idea how they're going to perform. He should still have the goal kicking duties, so he'll still score well. But will he hit the heights of 800k? I don't know. Zach Lomax. I am interested. I know he's probably going to be playing center, right? And I don't know what side. He usually plays. Has he been on? No, he's been on the right wing, right? He was on the right wing for the Dragons. If he is, but Penasini has been. Has Penasini been a right wing, right center throughout his career? I don't know if they would change him, but I was just thinking, if Lomax is outside of Mitchell Moses, that obviously is a great edge to be on. And I mean, it comes down to his goal kicking. It's like from talks and from what happened in international and stuff, it seems like Lomax could be goal kicking. If he is, I don't think I could do it just because, again, he's almost 800k at a new club. I think there's some very good value primos that could score as well, but a decently better priced, I would say. But if he is goal kicking, if he's outside of Mitchell Moses, it does pose a little bit of a question. Although he's 10% owned, which I thought he'd be a bit more of a super pod, but not to be. Herbie Farnworth, he is a super pod. I mean, he was sensational last year. I honestly expect the same. I think Herbie has found his mark. I think he will hover around that 700k. I think he could do a lot worse. I mean, the benefit of a Herbie, I mean, the downside is obviously no goal kicking. Playing centre, which is usually like, sometimes it's worse for players playing centre rather than wing, just for less easy tries or less hit-ups. But, I mean, Herbie's got the base. And the plus side is no origin, obviously English international, so he's always going to be just a very solid hold for the whole season, barring any mishap. So I don't mind Herbie as like a bit of a pod play as a primo option. Next up, Jacob Kiraz, very popular option to start the season, 14.5%. It's nothing crazy, but it's pretty high ownership for a 700k guy. I'm very keen, but I just, again, do I think the doggies are going to... I don't know about struggle this year, but I do think they might regress a little bit, which shouldn't necessarily impact Kiraz because he's just a base stat monster. He doesn't even necessarily mean that he doesn't necessarily need the tries to get that average pumping, just with the tackle bust, the offloading. He just gets plenty of just random attacking stats throughout a game, even with no tries. So I do love the Kiraz pickup. The doggies do have like a pretty good draw to start the season. I mean, not to talk too much about Origin, but it is a little factor. I wouldn't. I mean, he'd be a bolter for Origin this year, so I wouldn't pick him or not pick him for reasons for that. But yeah, I like Kiraz. I really like Kiraz. He's been great for me. He was great for me pretty much all of last year. I brought him in at a very good time, and he did a great job. I do like it, but yeah, he's hard to turn past, I'm not going to lie. Dom Young, not that interested in to start the season. I think Dom Young is one of these guys that you could definitely look to pick up when he bottoms out. And it might not be to start the year. Maybe to start the year he gets 4 tries on the trot. But there's going to be a point in the season where he goes on a lean run of points. And after he bottoms out, I think Dom Young is a guy that you could look to pick up when he's at a little juicy price. I think picking him up for 700k, it's just a bit, yeah, it's a bit yuck. It's like picking up classic like Johnston of previous years, right? You never pick Johnston up at the start of the year. You'd wait for him to lose a bit of cash, which he would inevitably do, and then look for hopefully a good run coming up. So yeah, one to keep an eye on throughout the season though, Dom Young, because he's obviously got the ceiling, just the consistency maybe a little bit up and down at times. Dane Gagai, I mean, he's always going to be a super pod. I don't know why. I just don't look at him, but he's been so good for so long now. I don't necessarily see the points going down that much. I mean, maybe Bradman Best missed a lot of footy last year, so they were looking right a lot more often, but if Bradman Best is fit and firing for the bulk of the season, then you would expect a bit more footy. I mean, Ponga loves the left-hand side. I think that is his better attacking structure. So it would make sense that they go a little bit more down left if it's Bradman Best rather than a Lucas. But I think Gagai would be solid. Brian To'o is a guy that I am very keen on, and he's sort of the guy for me. It's like either Brian Toto or Jacob Kiraz. And it's hard to pass up Toto for a pretty decent little reduction. A tick under 700k. I mean, it's very close to Kiraz, but you're picking up a guy that I don't know. Last year was a bit all over the shop for Toto. I feel like he changed sides quite often. So the stats, I don't know. I mean, it's probably going to take a confirmation that he's on the right-hand wing. And I don't know. I mean, we should get that. We should get confirmation. I don't know. I mean, he's usually been a right-hand winger. If it's confirmed that he is on that right wing, I think Cleary's going to see so much footy with his halves pairing this year that Toto, I mean, he's always going to have the base. But yeah, he just like the upside last year. He had a couple of big scores. I mean, 124, he had 98. He had a couple of good ones here. Another ton. But yeah, heaps of 40s. Which is pretty un-Toto-like. I mean, I guess granted, he did only start 720k last year, so it wasn't like he was 800. So yeah, I don't know. Would you rather a Toto or a Kiraz? Maybe Kiraz has sort of gone past Toto slightly. I don't know. I just the other thing about Toto is just the fact that could he do more work? I mean, Fisher Harris leaving doesn't necessarily. Yeah, it doesn't change things too much. If anything, I think Lindsay Smith probably takes a few extra runs over Fisher Harris as a prop. So I don't think it changes that too much. I don't know. I was really keen on Toto to start, but yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I do love it. But then you've got next up also, I mean, very popular, 27%, and I can't knock it at all. Ruben Garrick. I mean, if it's a big if, because I mean, but at the end of the day, any player can go through it. But the head knocks and injury, if Garrick gets through the season basically unscathed, has a couple little things here and there, I think he will be the top scoring centre winger. I think that is, it's not a given, but I think he's got the goal kicking. He's got the base. He's got Tommy. If Tommy plays a bulk of the season, I mean, that's the other big kicker. If Trbojevic is fit, it just boosts all the outside backs around Trbojevic up considerably. And to start the season, Manly have a great draw. They've got, I think it's 5 of their first 7 at Brookie. So yeah, I think if I was choosing between Garrick and Toto, I think I would have to go Garrick. I know Toto is the pod, but Garrick can score like 70 without a try. He's done it many times with goal kicking and just, a few more tackles here and there. Toto, he showed last year that he sort of needs 2 tries to get that ton now. So, I don't know. It could change, but I'd probably be leaning more Garrick now. Garrick versus Kiraz, I think I'm still on the Garrick train. It's just a matter of, do you want to have 2 700k guys? And that's what I was talking about with the structure. I think both those guys are like top of the top. Even like a Herbie Farnworth, I think is pretty good. For sure. It's slightly more expensive. Or if you wanted to take the punt Toto over Kiraz, I don't mind it. I don't mind it either. Just with the potential for Toto to maybe come out of the blocks firing, and maybe Kiraz and the Dogs come out a bit slowly. You never know. Going down the list, Tupou, not interested. Ronnie, not interested. Kaoliro, he was sensational last year as like did he start at bottom dollar cheapie? What did he start at? I think he was bottom dollar when he finally made his debut. I mean, he must have been. Yeah, obviously, 220k. He was sensational. I mean, I think... But I think he is what he's priced at. Like, maybe he kicks it up another gear. He was pretty bereft of tries last year. I mean, most of his scores were just purely base stats, which is sensational. But he didn't get that many attacking stats. So maybe he puts on a few more, gets up to that 700 plus, but I don't think starting him is the play. Fletcher Sharp, looks like Sharp potentially is playing 5'8" for the Knights, so I mean, no, I wouldn't be picking him up, but it's a watch. I don't know. Ramian, Nick Meaney. I mean, Meaney with the goal kicking, you would expect he's still gonna. I mean, I thought Meaney actually was not that great last year for NRL wise. Like, good attacking, and he had some good moments, but defensively, his edge and his defense primarily was pretty fucking poor. So I don't see anyone replacing him, but like, I think if they had a better option, I wouldn't be shocked if Meaney was out of the team. I just don't think at the moment there's a gun that can just come in and replace him. But I don't know, if his defense hasn't improved this year, you never know. Jermaine Asako coming in a tick over 600. It's not a bad price for Jermaine Asako. What did he start last year? He obviously had a sensational 2 years ago, 2023. I feel like he was almost 800k, and he started pretty well. I mean, 46.80. That's a good start. Had a bye, 106, 47, 43, 58. Couple of tons on the trot. I mean, he was pretty consistent. Like, he had a lot of 40s, which would piss you off if you had him at like 700 plus K, but he was pretty rock solid without getting the big attacking games like he did 2 years ago. I don't think I could pick him up. Again, I'd have to have a closer look at the Dolphins draw, but 600k for Jermaine is not a bad little price to start the year with a bit of a pod. Dylan Lucas, I mean, I guess it's dependent on team list. If Dylan Lucas is locked in for an 80-minute edge roll, obviously very tempting. But I don't know. I know I've had a few people. I've seen a few people very keen on Lucas. But even if he is playing 80 minutes on an edge, I know he did score very well. But would you rather go? Because that's the thing. Like, I saw people talk about it. Like, you know, you have your second rower in your center wing, which was always like a classic a few years ago. But I feel like I said at the start, a lot of these center wingers, they're not really that up and down. Like, they're not scoring low then high, couple of highs, couple of really lows. Like, they're pretty consistent overall. And I don't think just having a second rower there is necessarily like the be and end all like it was a few years ago. I think he does have some attacking upside, so it would be very tempting, but I don't think it's as good as it used to be, especially for 600k. It's still it's a decent price to spend. I mean, I guess he is quite a bit cheaper than a couple of but he's a bit under 40k less than Garrick. I would fucking have Garrick 100 times over 100 ahead of Dylan Lucas without a shadow of a doubt, even Toto for that matter. So you're spending more, but I think you're getting more for it as well. Then you move down. The next guy, I mean, Beau Fermor, he was great for me last year. He must have got he did get the duel late in the year. I didn't need it, but now he's coming into this season with a dual center wing TRF. I mean, who would you rather, Fermor or Lucas? I mean, Lucas probably has a bit more upside potentially, but Beau Fermor I think is locked in. Like, Fermor is going to get the right edge spot. He's been great. He was great last. I mean, he started a bit slowly. He had a couple of. That's the thing. He came off a serious injury. He started slow. 34, had a bye. 53, 39, and then from there, like, it was pretty fucking rock solid. 71, 71, 50, 60, 50, 70, 70, 80. There was a few games at centre as well, but it was a pretty damn good year for Fermor. Lucas is going to be a bit all over the shop because, I mean, just if it wants to show up, it's probably not that useful anyway, because there were so many games where he played at centre, then he played in the back row. I think he probably... Has he got a bigger ceiling? Did he hit a ton? He did, 106. I mean, it's similar to Fermor with those 70s. I think, honestly, looking at it, I'd probably prefer a Fermor if you're going to go for that rock-solid second rower in your centre wing spot for just consistency. I probably prefer Fermor just because you know he's locked in. I think Dylan Lucas showed that, I guess Fermor as well. If there's an injury, they both can go to centre. But I think Lucas, I mean, you got Kai Pearce-Paul, you got Frizzell. I don't know what's happening with Frizzell. I would, like, as an outsider, you would assume Frizzell should move into the middle. But does he want to do that? Is he going to do that? I don't know. So, yeah, at the moment, I'd probably go Fermor over Lucas. Obviously, the round one bye is a bit annoying for that. But, yeah, just for that... the certainty of playing 80 minutes in the back row, I think I rather Fermor. Lehigh Hopewade, interesting. He's probably he's a bit too expensive, but again, it's the Tom Trebojevic factor. I think Hopewade was great. Like, he was very, very good. I think he could score a ton of tries this year if he gets that spot. It's probably out of him and Tommy Talau. I would assume it's going to be Hopewade. Like, I think Talau was also pretty good last year for them, but I think Hopewade, he's got a bit more about him on the wing. So, a bit too expensive, but yeah, interesting. Going down, who have we got? Elamotti, a little bit too expensive to start. Taruva going to the Tigers, not interested. I mean, Bradman Best. So, I mean, we saw Gagai was at, what was he, 600-700K? You can pick up a Bradman Best for 560. Should be fit, playing on that left-hand side, outside of Ponga. The Knights have a good draw. I've actually seen a lot of people have, well, not a lot of people, but I've seen Greg Marju in quite a few teams. Bradman Best, it always shocks me a little bit, the stats for Bradman Best. He looks like the guy who should be getting 40 to 50 every week in base, but you can see 37, 36, 28, 36. Obviously injury here. Big layoff here, 31 and 80 minutes. Like, obviously injury concern. He does have the ceiling, 130, 123. I feel like there's a year where he's going to go crazy with it, but is it going to be this year? I don't know. I mean, they take on the Tigers. It's a good round one match for them. It would be a nice little punt. But I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I have the goal to do it. Talangi, if he's locked in for that 5'8" spot, he is tempting, but I don't love it. 12% people are going him. I'm a little surprised how many people are going him to start, but he does have the upside about him. RTS, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. Very interesting coming out for him. There's been a lot of rumors and talks, and he posted on Instagram. He hinted at a change of position, which a lot of people are assuming is going to be the wing, and I would assume that as well. But with like the way the way he came out and like hinted at a change of position, it more seemed like it was a hint at going to fullback, because I was like, it's a bit strange that they'd be talking up this change of position and change of role just to go to the wing, because it's not so much that, like, centre or winger, like, who gives a shit? But I feel like if Roger's going back to fullback, okay, that's one for the that's one for the journos. That's a big little scoop right there. So I don't know. I think both. Like, if Tulvashek's playing fullback, I think he's a lock. Like 550k, you can chuck him in centre wing. He's an absolute lock, must have at fullback. If he's on the wing, he's not a lock, he's not a must-have, but I think he's very, very juicy on the wing as well. Just with the kick returns, the runs, he's going to be all about it. And just on the wing, you just know you're going to get the odd simple try, right? At centre, you can get missed quite a bit. The wingers score all those easy tries. So I like Roger quite a bit regardless. If he's playing centre, which I don't think he will be, but if he was, I wouldn't go him. I think he could still go well, but on the wing, I'd be very tempted. At fullback, he'd be 100% in the team. Selwyn Cobbo, 550k. Going back to the wing as well for the Bronx, or from all reports, it's got me tempted. I think Cobbo is a guy that, I mean, he's similar to the Johnston. He's similar to, who did I talk about before? Dom Young. Like, he's a guy that can get on a run, and at 550k, he could get lower for sure, but it's a pretty good price to take a punt that he might start the season hot and get a few tries to kick off the year, and he could easily jump up considerably on the wing. Like, just has a couple of doubles in a row, you know. It's one of those ones where at the price, I don't mind the punt on a Selwyn Cobbo. But I'd want to see, he's looking fit, he's looking fast, but he's definitely on the watch list, Cobbo. Obviously, we are getting down to more of the mid-range, high-end mid-range. Who else is interesting? I mean, Saab, is he going to be on the other wing? I don't know. Maybe. Again, he could be a 500k. I don't love it though. Tommy Talau. I mean, if he got the wing spot over Lehigh, he's probably a little bit too expensive still. He could get on a run. Like, I mean, I said it with Cobbo just before, but I mean, Cobbo's a far better player than Tommy Talau, so even if he gets a few tries, I don't love it. Going down the list, who else stands out? I mean, Tony Staggs, he shows brilliance, but it doesn't quite hit the heights. Greg Marju, if you don't want to take the big risk on Bradman Best, then I think Greg Marju is a pretty safe option at 500k to start. I don't mind it. I don't love it. Like, I mean, he's going to have the base. Like, worst case, he's going to get 40 to 45 points, you would hope. And you would hope, again, Bradman Best back, Kalen Ponga attacking that left side a bit more. Just a few more tries to start the year. Newcastle have a pretty good draw. I do like Greg, but for some reason I'm just off him a little bit. He's just, last year was just, I don't know. I don't know if he was playing a bit injured all of last year. He just didn't quite seem as dynamic as he did a couple of years ago. But he's definitely a watch for sure. Next guy, Campbell Graham. So he was a guy a lot of people were keen on. I was very keen on as well. 500k. I'm definitely a lot, like, out of Marju and Campbell Graham, I would rather go Graham. It's come out recently, or like literally today, that unfortunately, terrible news for Graham, he's picked up a fractured hand. I don't know exactly how, but fractured hand, so he is going to be out for, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know what the report is, but I think that it just rules a line through Graham to start the year, I think. Which is very disappointing for him. I think he could have been a great pickup as well to start the year. But NRL-wise as well, terrible luck for Campbell Graham after missing all of last year with a fucking disgusting injury to the sternum. So hopefully it's not too long and we do see Campbell Graham early in the season. So line through him though, Isaac Tungo. I've got to be honest, I'm somewhat tempted by Isaac Tungo as a flyer. I'm just a little bit tempted, dude. Like, he has some shockers in him, but he also has this. I mean, 46 against Melbourne, that's pretty good. Round 1, everyone scores lower. And 145 against Eels, 100 against the Bronx, 47 against the Roosters. Like, it was a tough month to start for the Panthers. And then 32, not great. Then you've got a 58, 34, 29. I think he must have got a sin bin here, I'm guessing. 74, 39, 37. He's got a lot of 30s in him. He's had a lot of 30s in him. He finished the season like an absolute shitter, with an 18 and a 24 against the Titans. But I just, like, I think all of the good scores coincide with playing outside of Nathan Cleary. I don't know the exact stats, but I'm very confident that the big scores coincide with Cleary. I'm sure he's had some low scores with Cleary as well, but the average with Cleary is far higher than the average without Cleary. And Cleary looks like he's good to go. I don't mind taking the punt. Obviously, I've got Graham in the team at the moment, so if I'm replacing Graham, instead of going a Toto, taking a flyer on an Isaac Tungo, I don't hate. And I got to be honest, like, he was pretty poor last year as well, NRL-wise. Like, he had his moments, obviously, but defensively wasn't great. All of a sudden, in the final series, grand final in particular, he was great. Like, defensively, he really stepped it up. He looked really strong, so is he going to carry that forward? You would think so. You would think so. I don't know what was going on last year. There was just, I don't know, he was off the boil. He was off the boil a bit. So I don't, if I'm going to go with a flyer, if I'm going to go with one super pod, I don't mind the Isaac Tungo play, but we'll see. Gerald Skelton as well is very interesting, playing for the Tigers now. You would expect him to have the wing spot there with Taruva, I would guess. He's interesting. He's just a little bit expensive. Like, the base stats are going to be great. It just, I don't know, playing for the Tigers, 500k, I don't know. I just want to see how they look in the trials. It's not going to give us a whole lot to go off just with everything. They're not going to play the full 80 minutes in the trials, but I just want to see how he looks in Tigers colours. But 500k, I'd probably rather take the punt on Tungo if I'm being honest, playing for the Panthers. Yeah, and also, like, the other reason I like Tungo is just the fact with no Luai there, the ball is just, there's going to be so much footy down the right-hand side you would expect. Which it might mean that defenses are really aiming up on that side. Like, they know the ball's going there. They're really going to target, like, Cleary, Tungo, Toto. But, yeah, it's one factor to aim up, but to stop it, it's another factor. So, we'll see. Who else have we got? Anyone else pop out? Casey McLean. Okay, so this is the other guy I am tempted by, because there's obviously a wing spot on the left wing. It's probably Casey McLean. I think he's the front runner. There's obviously his brother Jesse McLean as well, but I think Casey's probably got the running. It's just the fact, yeah, it's probably going to be on that. Yeah, the more I think about it, I think Toto will be on the right, and then, yeah, Casey McLean would be on the left-hand side. So, but I don't know, without Luai there, is he going to get the footy as much? Like, if someone like a Talangi is on that left, he's definitely a ball runner. I don't know. He's obviously, a couple 100k, or 150 odd less than Toto, but is it worth it? I don't know. Again, I'd probably rather the Tungo play. Going down the list, Mark. It's too late at night to try to pronounce the name, honestly. He could get the spot. We'll get to the cheapie in a second. Robert Toa, who is heavily tipped, heavily favoured, but I don't think he's locked into that centre spot. Obviously, if he is bottom dollar cheapie, everyone's got him in the team at the moment. But Mark, he showed a bit of brilliance in, I think, only one game last year. I think he only played that one game. He scored a beauty off a high kick. He's got a bit about him. I wouldn't be shocked if he got the spot. And at 400k, there is definitely some upside there. Adam Dewey, we talked about in the 5'8 spot. I'm still like half tempted, but we'll see. Jack Howarth, also a guy for this like mid-range price that I'm a little tempted by. Just another season. He was fine last year. He had some okay scores. He had a few duds, but another full off season transitioning basically to a center. He's obviously come through as, I think, probably younger. He was a center, then he pushed more to like a back rower. Now he is obviously, moving back into the centers for the Storm. He's got the versatility to play in the back row, but again, I don't think the Storm have, at the moment, I don't think they got any other like guns that can really fill the center spot. So I think Howarth is, I would assume he's locked in there, and I think he can only go up from here. 400k, I think, is definitely unders. I just don't know how much. I don't know if he's got that Supercoach ceiling to his game. Like, he looked great. Like, he looked really good last year. Didn't quite transition to Supercoach points. I guess, he had, obviously, 16 minutes here, 9 points. 6 minutes for 6 points. So that lowers the average a lot. 28 minutes for 23 points. And then 60 minutes for 52 points. The 80-minute game, 62, 49, 81, 64, 41, 36, 37, 71, 35. Yeah, it is pretty good. It's definitely better than 400k, but he still has those 30s, which, any center does. Like, Tungo had it as well. I just don't know if he has the ceiling, but don't mind it. I don't mind Howarth as a slight cheaper option. As we go down the list, Ty Munro is a guy I'm actually very keen on as well, as a bit of a flyer to start the season. I'm not locked into Ty Munro because he's had his injury concerns as well. I think he's just a worry, but man, he's an absolute freak. If Mitchell is on fire, Munro could score some absolute gimmies, and he's a guy that's going to finish some half chances. There's been wingers for the Rabbos before that half chances go begging. I think Munro, he's a guy that he's going to nail those half chances. A half line break he's going to get. A half try he's going to score. I like it. I like the idea of a flyer on Ty Munro to start the year. Zach Labut is also an interesting one because there's another cheapie that a lot of people are going in Jackson Purdue for the Cowboys, who at the time it looked like Purdue was due for, he would get a few games to start the season, but Zach Labut, it looks like he's firming for a round one start. I don't know. They might both get a center spot for all I know, so they both potentially could be good value. Zach Labut at 390, and obviously Purdue as a cheapie. So yeah, ones to watch out for there. Jack Bird, I don't have him in my team at the moment. Obviously, a lot of people are going him. At the end of the day, if Jack Bird, if he's named to start at lock, if he looks pretty good in the trials, yeah, I'm gonna go him at 380k. If he plays half decent minutes at lock, sure. I think it's pretty good value to pick him up at 380k. So it's just a matter if he gets the start, and I think he probably does. And if he plays good minutes, like he is a Supercoach not an elite Supercoach player, but he's definitely got the Supercoach game about him. He's got some attacking upside. He's got the tackle busting, the offloading, all that sort of fun stuff. So, yeah, Jack Bird, obviously, if he gets the start, he'll be in my team. Going down the list here, who else have we got? So, Max Feeney going to the Dolphins. I forgot about that. It's a pretty good signing for the Dolphins. I just don't think he has a spot, though. Like, they've got... I mean, Jack Bostock and... who's the other winger? Jermaine Sarko. I don't think Feeney is going to get a role. And then in centre, like, Herbie's got one spot. I guess maybe he's competing for the other centre spot. But, yeah, I think he's a pretty good player. Pretty good depth player, but probably not going to get the role. Jesse Arthurs... I mean, if you're going to take a flyer on a Selwyn Cobbo for $550, if Jesse Arthurs gets the other wing spot, I don't hate the idea of going Arthurs. You don't have to play him, but if there's not 3 genuine, decent, cheapy options, don't mind the idea of spending a little bit more on Arthurs and hope he scores a few on the trot, or at least goes pretty well. Because there was a couple of, like, last year, he had a shocker. The year before, I felt like he really started to hit his straps, but... I mean, he started the year actually pretty well. I mean, 48, 57, 45, 32, 81. I mean, for 370k, it's like... It's good. Then he missed a bunch of footy. A couple of very low scores. He came back really badly. He came back really badly after his time off. I mean, the Broncos obviously shit the bed as well. But, yeah, he had a rough time. But, I mean, just, like... If the Broncos get back to some form, there's attack in that team. And... You just need to score a few tries. So, I don't hate Arthurs. Like, yeah, maybe going Arthurs instead of Cobbo, just for that 200k discount as the flyer there. I don't dislike. I mean, Carter Gordon, obviously a little bit of a watch at the Titans there. He is a very talented football player, coming over from Union. So, we'll see if he gets a role at the Titans at all this season. There's, I was going to say Purdue, but no, it's Jackson Paulo. No, thank you. Isaiah Tass. Okay, you know what? Isaiah Tass actually becomes potentially an option with Campbell Graham being out. I mean, I've always thought Isaiah Tass is pretty underrated. I think he's a pretty good footy player. He didn't play much last year. I don't think he played much at all last year. Just out of, I don't know if it was injury or just out of favour. I mean, the scores were bad, but I don't hate Tass, depending on the team lineup and also how long Graham's out. He could be an option. Then you got Billy Smith, also that cheapish mid-range price here, getting to like cheap to 300k. Is he gonna get the spot? I don't know. Who knows, dude? It's like he probably does. I mean, they have to fill Suoli. They have to fill Joey Manu. There's spots open. Like they've had big raps on Billy Smith for a long time. He's had injury after injury. If he's named, I think he's gonna be in my team because he does have a good Supercoach game about him as well. He's got good base stats. He's got good attack in him, but. We'll see how it turns out, but yeah, at the moment I think Billy Smith is. I think he should get a starting spot. You would assume, but we'll see. We'll see soon enough. Going down the list, obviously Chester, another ACL injury for Chester. So he is a no-go. So Jackson Purdue is the guy I was talking about. With Zach Labert. They both could be in the team for all I know. I'm not entirely sure how they're going to line up, so I mean, again, if Purdue is starting, I think at 257k, it's not bottom dollar cheapy, but he's a very exciting football player. I would like to see him in there because I think he's very good, but we'll see how it lines up. There's Jesse McLean there. I don't know why. I think I just had him as a placeholder, as a cheapie at the moment, but I think it'd be Casey McLean who's got the runs on the board. But we'll see. I know Tamale is getting some big raps and he potentially could get a spot, but there's a bit of uncertainty about him because I think Albert Hopewade he's ruled himself out of round 1 because of I think his wife giving birth. I think for that reason. But then he'll be good to go after round 1. So Tamale could be in for round 1 and then he could be out. So I need a little bit of certainty for him. Any other cheapies to talk about? Who else have we got? I have heard a bit about Moses Leo for the Storm. I don't think he gets a spot, but I think he's another New Zealand Sevens import, so one to watch for sure. Cody Ramsey, great to see him back in action. I don't know if he'll be playing this year, but it's good to see him. It's good to see him back, fit and healthy. Honestly, after going through a very tough time the last couple of years. Who else have we got? I know there's a couple other cheapies of note. I think. Yeah, Robert Toa, obviously the big one there, almost 50% owned. He's probably likely to get the spot at the moment, and if he does, yeah, you've got to lock him in, but we'll see if he actually gets that role. And then, yeah, it's just going to be a matter of what cheapies you run. So I think, like I said, 3 cheapies on your reserves, if there are 3 genuine starting cheapies that you're pretty happy with, then I think for me, I think Garrick is probably my number 1 top line centre wing option. I do like Toto as well. I do like Kiraz. There's a lot I like. Then going down, if you want a really solid option, I think Fermor is a pretty good option. I don't hate Fermor just holding him. Like, you don't have to pick him up. If one of your centre wingers shits the bed, you could go to a Fermor in round 4 or round 3 before their price changes because he has the bye. So you could just keep that on note if Fermor is looking pretty solid, getting like 60 points a game. Don't hate it. Going down the list, I don't mind a flyer on like a Bradman Best, potentially. Roger, also very tempting if he's playing wing, or obviously fullback would be a lock. Cobbo, I'm probably leaning more now Jesse Arthurs as a cheaper option. Probably. I don't mind a flyer on a Jesse Arthurs, Greg Marju potentially. Isaac Tungo, I like the idea of an Isaac Tungo. There's a lot of options, man. It's sort of like if I've got the money to spend, sure, maybe just go with Toto. But if I need a bit of extra cash, I don't mind going like a Tungo instead. And then some of the cheaper options, Casey McLean, you could go instead of a Tungo. But I'd probably rather the Tungo. Howarth, I don't mind. I think he is undervalued. I think he definitely can get up to that 550 pretty comfortably. If he goes beyond that, we'll see. And then, yeah, the 300k, I like Munro. I like Jack Bird if he's starting, obviously. Jesse Arthurs, I don't mind. So there's quite a bit. I mean, Billy Smith, 300k, there's quite a bit of value. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe I'm more looking at that one Primo and Garrick, and then my other 3 starters are more value in like a Tungo, a Ty Munro, Jack Bird, and then if there's not 3 genuine cheapies, maybe you go a Jesse Arthurs and 2 cheapies. So Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out with the team structure. But there's definitely some good. But then you fucking like Tuivasa. I didn't even have Tuivasa in that little foray. I think if Tuivasa is on the wing, I'd be very remiss if I didn't start him. So there's a lot to play out in the center wing. It's going to be a very open position, which I like quite a bit. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. Make sure to like and comment. We'll be back with the last of the positional discussions, the big ones, the big guns, the fullbacks, and there's quite a bit to talk about there as well. So make sure to like and comment. I'll see you guys in the next one.